Welcome to episode 6 of the Movieslingers starring
Nuan.
and Denol. So, before we start the podcast, I would like to ask everyone, including Nuan, if we accept this mission that you choose, would you want to talk about the Mission Impossible movies?
I guess that's, I accept, I guess. We're already here anyway.
So, today we thought we would actually revisit all the Mission Impossible movies before we watch it. I think hopefully after next week.
Yeah, so we are all pretty excited for the new one, Dead Reckoning Part 1. So we thought, hey, let's go back and watch all the other movies in the series and then, try to figure out, which ones we like, which ones we don't, if there are one. I guess we'll start with the first one. This one is directed by Brian De Palma, which is amazing when you think about it, because he doesn't do this kind of film, right? He's one of those he's sort of like a genius, one of those genius filmmakers who has a very he has his own style. It's very unique. If you watched any of his other films, you can instantly tell it's him. The kinds of angles he chooses. And lately I've been watching a lot of his other films, and now I'm starting to appreciate Mission Impossible, the first one, even more because of that. And it's the one that started, right? It's like, wow. And you even back then you have Tom Cruise running in that movie. Right? He starts running from the exploding fish tank in the restaurant. So it's such a cool movie. I mean, so many memorable moments. And of course the big the breaking into the CIA part, which became
it's like that one moment in film history that everyone remembers.
Like when you say Mission Impossible,
the first thing
usually
comes,
probably think of that moment, right?
And then obviously the theme song, which is
is
still my favorite. Actually, before starting this podcast, for a few days I've been listening to the Mission Impossible theme songs. Like there's a playlist on Spotify. The first one, it's still really good. But I have to say though, like this film, out of all the other 6-7 films that is out there, this film felt more of a crime thriller noir than the other films.
I guess this is more of a more realistic kind of spy thriller than the other ones.
It was a bit more like gritty and dark.
Especially when it starts. You see you see the team working and you see them planning and you realize it's very much more grounded than any of the other ones. And we have some great actors in here. Like you have John Voight is there, Jean Reno, right? The French guy.
Yes.
He's there. And then Ving Rhames. Ving Rhames there. And of course you have I forgot his name, the guy who's playing
is it the former
IMF he's the director of the IMF.
The former
what was his name?
Because I've seen him in many other movies. Like he's mostly his resume mostly gets into like horror, sci-fi. I've seen him in a lot of those type of films.
And he's making a comeback. His character is going to return, right?
Really?
Yeah. So. Okay, I'm just checking.
No one is googling while all of this is going on.
Who this guy is. I forgot his name. I feel really bad.
No, but he was a really good villain though, right?
No, I'm not talking about the villain. You're talking about John Voight.
Okay.
John Voight is I'm not talking about John Voight. I'm talking about the guy who plays Kittredge. Kittredge is the guy who he's the head of the IMF. His name is Henry Cerny. That's the actor's name.
Okay.
Eugene Kittredge is the character.
Okay.
He's the guy who confronts Ethan in the restaurant.
Oh, right? That dude. Okay.
That guy. Okay. And he's going to be in the new movie.
Oh, okay.
Because if you watch the trailer for the new movie,
Yeah.
the first part where there's a guy talking to Ethan,
Yeah.
that's him,
Oh, okay.
right? So I'm kind of excited to see him come back.
He didn't really die, right?
No, he didn't die. He's there.
He's there,
He's
but
there.
I think he was decommissioned, or I think.
I mean, they don't really say because
yeah.
every movie pretty much introduces a new head of the IMF, so that guy could be still there.
Yeah.
So I love that scene. I love that scene in the restaurant because of the way De Palma shoots that scene.
Mm-hmm.
So when it starts, like you have like Ethan kind of, he's very calm. He thinks he's coming in and they're going to work things out because his team died and he's going to talk to the head of the IMF.
Yeah.
And then slowly you see De Palma start putting these Dutch angles.
Yes.
And goes really crazy, very extreme close up on both Ethan and Kittredge.
Yeah, and that's what makes it really intense.
Yeah, because I guess it feels like Ethan is slowly kind of losing grip of the situation.
Yeah. And also, I think that those were kind of the moments where you feel like, is Ethan gonna go rogue?
Yeah,
because it kind of builds up that intensity, which I don't really see in the other films.
Right.
Like the conversation they're having, if you remember that scene.
And I love how Ethan he's a very smart guy. I like how in a lot of situations he's figured things out.
Yeah.
And sometimes he's figured things out before the audience.
Yeah.
And he already knows. Like there's a great scene where he notices the Bible. There's a thing with the Bible that he hears, and if the audience wasn't, if you're paying attention, you probably figure it out as well.
Uh-huh.
But then later on, when he meets the Phelps character, the John Voight's character, where you think John Voight is sort of manipulating Ethan, but then you see what Ethan is thinking, right?
Yeah.
And you see Ethan is putting things together, and and then you see John Voight.
See, that's what makes this film a noir.
Yeah.
Because Ethan is not just playing an agent; he's playing a detective. He's kind of like figuring out what really happened.
Yeah. That is true. Yeah.
If you remember, I mean, in the scene, the mission was basically we get the code names and the actual names, and then we extract that and we prevent it from getting leaked. But then it didn't happen. Everyone got killed.
Yeah.
Majority of the team got killed, and this is where there were these flashback scenes in Ethan where he's thinking, oh, is it the girl or is it James Voight's wife?
I like that by that point he knows who the bad guy is, but he's not sure about the girl. That's why you see two different versions of like he's not sure, and that's why in the final train sequence he has to figure out if she's which side she's on, right? So I like, there's a lot of very subtle stuff that's happening. Like you have to like just kind of pay attention to what's going on with the characters. Like you're not really sure who's on which side most of the time. Like you even might think Kittredge is the bad guy at one point in the especially in the first part of it, because everyone is dead from Ethan's point of view, and it's only Kittredge is alive, and there's like another team also there. Right? So there's a lot of cool stuff going on. And I mean, I love that they bring in Ving Rhames. And Ving Rhames in the first movie kind of feels like he's going to be like a very tough guy type of character, but then as it goes on in the rest of the series, he's like the sweetest person.
You're talking about Luther, right?
Luther. And like I think in the first one, you really see their friendship start. And I love that. That's such a good...
But also I like that they broke the stereotype of what an IT guy should be. Because usually in movies an IT guy would be a super scrawny, nerdy dude with like huge glasses. But Luther looks like this really bulked up.
And he's dressed nice. Like, and I like how in Mission Impossible 2, he's always complaining about my Gucci shoes.
My Versace jacket.
That guy shot my Versace. He's very well dressed. But going back to the first one, I mean, you see him, and I like how his character is like he's disavowed, but he's not a bad guy. And Ethan realizes that he would never have joined the mission if he knew they were going to get the agents' names. right?
Also, John Pierre was in this film, right?
Who?
The French actor, the one.
Jean Reno.
Jean Reno, right? Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes.
He's the guy with the knife.
Knife, yeah, and
Yeah.
he's a helicopter. He's a pilot, right?
Yeah. And he's good too. Like I like how.
Because I thought at one point maybe he's the villain.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
always looked very suspicious, and the way he acted and all with the disc.
Yeah,
especially after the scene when Ethan gets a disc.
And I like that little magic trick that he keeps pulling like a bunch of times.
Yeah,
it's really funny. And if you look at the knife, you should, like, Ethan notices the knife.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say it at that point.
Yeah.
It's only later we find out.
Mm-hmm.
But if we also pay attention, we know it's the same type of knife. That they used to kill that guy.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the movie.
And also the woman too, right? When she was checking on what happened.
Yeah. And also, like, the train sequence.
Yes.
Like, I love that sequence. I mean, it still looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Like,
even though, like, we know the CG looks outdated, it really looks good.
Yeah, I think they use like a projection kind of a thing. But because they use fans to generate the wind.
Yeah.
So you have, like, these massive fans that are blowing in their faces that's kind of distorting Tom Cruise's face. That really gives it that effect. Yeah. So even though they are probably on a set somewhere and they are putting some kind of projection of the background, right? It's flying past. But once you put on that fan, it looks like they're on a train, and that is really cool.
But what do you think about the scene when we find out who the actual villain is inside the baggage? What do you call it?
Inside the train. Yeah.
I felt it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
Because when Ethan removes his mask, which becomes a trait in all the Mission Impossible films, I almost felt at one point maybe Ethan might get shot, but then Ethan pulls out the glasses and he's like, "Hey, look, he's the villain."
That final sequence, like, he sets up everyone, right?
Yeah.
Because I like how he does it, because he has to give it to Max.
Yeah.
To find out who the bad guy is. But he also doesn't want Max selling it. Yeah. So he has Kittredge coming in to arrest Max. Right? But and so he has to figure out that part as well.
Yeah.
And then he has to figure out if the girl is with the bad guy or not. And he has planned everything out. Like, I like how he has covered all the bases. Like, he has to figure out who the bad guy is, whether the girl...
It feels like... I felt like this film had this low-key Ocean's 11 vibe. like they were actually, like, planning a heist in order to rip off Max, and also to get the bad guy at the same time, and also to prove Ethan's innocence. Like, all three at once.
There's a lot going on, right? And in 2 hours, like, how did, like... It's amazing they deliver this in 2 hours, right? All of these moving parts and it's entertaining. Like, it's never boring.
Yeah.
And also, like, you see, like, these little spy things that Ethan does. Like, for example, like, when he goes to that apartment, he crushes a light bulb, sprinkles the parts, and that's very, like, very low tech.
Yeah.
It
feels like because, like, if you take this whole spy film genre in general, I think Jason Bourne kind of changed the whole game.
Yeah. But this is even before
that, which is surprising, because back then spy films were pretty corny. They would have a gun where they would, shoot a camera.
You're thinking, like, James Bond.
Bond-ish. But this was pretty, like, grounded in many ways. Yeah.
I mean, probably the most kind of over-the-top thing is probably the face mask thing.
Yes.
But in the first one, they actually don't change the voice. You notice whenever somebody is having a mask, they don't talk. Like in the last scene, Ethan doesn't talk. He's just sitting there with the mask on.
Yeah.
Right?
And he's sitting in a corner and he's like looking at the woman. He's like, okay, tell
like
me.
He actually gets her to say everything.
He just like sits there. And
it's kind of brilliant when you think about it. But it's effective. Like, you don't like, if you haven't watched the movie, you probably don't know.
Yeah.
You're probably not expecting that to happen.
Yeah.
Even though they've shown you masks before. But it's funny. Like, it's I almost never figure out which part is a mask,
Yeah.
it's almost always a surprise.
Exactly, right?
They
That's
get
the
us
best
every
thing.
time.
Yeah.
They get us every time. And I think that's brilliant. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we know they have masks,
Masks,
right?
yeah.
So it's almost like it's
And
amazing.
also, they don't really show us how the masks are made, unlike in the future films. Right?
Yeah. In this one, I guess it's more of a. I mean,
I felt like in the first film they were going more into like a mystery thriller, spy kind of thing.
yeah. I guess they probably didn't know how to show
it
being
maybe,
made.
yeah, and also maybe the budget at the time.
Because in the newer ones, you have like some fancy machine
or like some 3D printer.
Yeah,
and
it's like it's a very CGI
thing.
type of thing. They probably couldn't do that in the old movie.
Yeah.
But that's a really good movie. I mean, the first one, and I like how during the big breaking into the safe vault thing, they have these little gadgets that shows the audio level, the sensors, right?
Oh, this is CIA break-in.
The CIA break-in. So I like how they have visual indicators.
Yes.
Like so, if the alarms will go off if it's too loud, right? So there's a little meter that shows, and I like how it cuts to that, and the audience immediately can understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's that or the temperature thing or...
Also, like, when you watch that scene without the audio, you still feel the intensity.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really, like, I can imagine, like, let's say if because I remember when I used to go for either trips or other places, like when they play Mission Impossible and when that scene goes on, I feel like a lot of people get really intense into it.
Yeah. Everyone just shuts
up. Shuts up and like looks at the
because you're just feeling every single moment, right? Like when the sweat is about to drop down,
and also like the rope, like when Renault's character, right?
Renault's
like when he's trying to like level
kill that rat or something in the ventilator.
Yeah,
and that drop. That's Tom Cruise actually like almost hitting the ground.
Yeah, that actually happened.
Yeah. I mean, amazing. I mean, it really sets up all the...
I would say like in a sequel wise, that was a good foundation.
That's a very good start. Yeah.
And then the second
one. I mean, it's completely going in a different direction. But I mean, what more do you expect when you get John Woo? Into this, right? Like, like I'm a fan of John Woo. I like Hard Boiled,
A Better Tomorrow, The Killers,
and Face Off.
So,
obviously, I mean, he's a guy from who did Hong Kong action films.
So, like, he's to all our listeners, like, he actually kind of changed the way like action films or like. Films in general, when it comes to gun fu, they call it gun fu. Basically, like it's very stylish and it's like so violent and so like chaotic.
The shootouts, especially.
The Mexican standoffs and whatnot. So, I mean, I understand Tom Cruise is a huge fan of him too at that time, and he badly wanted him in this film. So. Hey, I mean, basically, end of the day, these Mission Impossible films, Tom Cruise is a producer, so, that's his...
Yeah, he has a big say in what is going to happen. And also, like, it's a movie made... the movie came out in the year 2000, I think.
2002, I guess, right?
I think it was just 2000.
Yeah.
So it's like one of the most 2000s films ever made.
Yeah.
Because it has all the stuff going on. It has like, obviously John Woo, who was quite big at that time.
Yeah.
And it has Limp Bizkit soundtrack.
Soundtrack, yes. Take a look around. It's still in your head.
It's still in your head. And it has Tom Cruise in a black jacket with sunglasses on because everyone wanted to do the Matrix. Which is funnily like something that took inspiration from John Woo films, the shootouts. So... And this is like, okay, you have Tom Cruise wearing sunglasses even when he probably doesn't need to.
But I also have to add that the opening scene to this film is like the most memorable one out of all. The rock climbing
The rock climbing is so good. Like, and like when he jumps off, now I'm sure they had ropes and they removed them during post or whatever. But it looks real. It looks like, oh my god.
Actually, at one point, you really feel scared for him.
Yeah.
It's like, he has like no ropes. He only has
Yeah.
a bag with, powder just to like,
it looks really
hold
intense.
on to whatever,
I mean, they just decided, okay, you're gonna climb this mountain and we're gonna shoot you, and that's it. Like, that's it.
Basically, so now the first one, I mean, the first film was, there is a mole in the IMF that is leaking information. So we went from that, and now in this film there is a virus called Chimera, and
Yeah. Based on the Greek mythology.
And at this point, like, Tom Cruise is on vacation and he just wants to have like rock climbing, which is like very extreme, and it's very 2000s at the time, right? Like,
and I like how in the opening, they show Ethan Hunt, but it's not Ethan Hunt. And it's somebody else wearing the mask. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because you probably don't see that coming.
Because at the opening scene, you feel like, oh no, he's gone rogue, unlike the last film. Because the last film, at one point, you feel, oh no, he's going to go full crazy and he's going to, like, cause some chaos.
But it's actually Douglas Scott's character. Like, wow, okay. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Douglas Scott did this movie instead of being Wolverine.
Oh, okay.
Or something like I can't remember what it was. He was supposed to do another movie, and instead of doing that, he did this. And I'm pretty sure he regrets doing it. but I don't know. I thought he was good.
Yeah.
I thought he was.
But it's still a memorable film.
Yeah, it's still a memorable film.
I know it's corny.
Yeah.
I know I watched it recently, and at certain points I felt
why?
like,
You're like, why?
Like, but then it's still stuck in your head.
I like the part where the girl, Tandy Newton's character, is walking towards the bad guy.
Yeah.
And it's in slow motion, obviously. And like her scarf is about to fly off. And Douglas Scott reaches out and grabs it. It's like such a Hindi movie.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, that's like a Shah Rukh Khan shot.
Khan kind of thing. But it's the bad guy who does it, which doesn't like...
And there's like an odd lighting thing going on, because I feel like they shot some scenes on location.
Yeah.
And maybe the shot on Douglas Scott was shot separately.
Yeah.
Maybe a reshoot or something, so the lighting doesn't match.
Also, also to our listeners who are listening in, right? The second film, it happens in Australia.
Yeah, which is amazing,
right? Because I also remember back then Australia became this huge tourist destination, unlike today. And I think back then, because Australia was kind of similar to the US and all, everyone's like, oh my god, this country called Australia, and that's I think even Steve Irving also became popular. So I mean, yeah, it's a 2000s film,
and most of the movie actually takes place there.
Yeah. It takes place
interesting. I mean, and and you have, and also the weirdest thing is that I feel like John Woo didn't get the assignment, because he seems to be making a James Bond movie.
Film,
because if you just look at Ethan's character, he doesn't really behave like Ethan's character.
Yeah, he's more because he arrogant, right?
And he meets the girl, and he's immediately hitting on her, which actually doesn't really happen in the other movies. He's much more.
I mean, the first movie didn't really happen.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you can tell he kind of liked the girl, but he was more focused on the job. But in this one, he's supposed to work with this woman.
But he has so much feelings for this girl.
And they fall in love while in a car crash. Remember that? Slow motion car crash, camera spinning around.
So
that happens. And even that car chase feels like they're trying to do a Bond movie, because in a lot of Bond movies you get that kind of car chase where he's chasing after a girl in a sports car kind of a thing. Especially in GoldenEye, I remember there is a car chase similar to that.
Also, I remember at one point in one of the James Bond films, they were using a BMW, right? Even this movie also they were using a BMW.
There is.
I think maybe in GoldenEye, if I remember, one of the Pierce Brosnan
films, he uses a BMW.
So it kind of makes sense. It feels like a James Bond film, right?
But then I mean, I've seen BMWs in the more modern movies as well. So it's probably I guess it's a BMW thing. They want to do spy movies. They get it in Tenet. Do you remember get a fast car that doesn't look fast? They get a BMW. So it's probably a BMW thing. They want to be in the spy movie business.
Movie business.
Anyway, back to MI2. I like. It's very over the top at times. But I do like some of the I do like the villain. I think because this villain he's also like a former IMF agent. He's kind of a rogue agent, right? And so he knows Ethan's methods. So there's a scene where Ethan has to break into the lab. And you have the bad guy going. Bad guy basically lays out exactly what Ethan's gonna do. He knows that Ethan is not gonna break from the bottom.
He's gonna come from the top.
From the top. He calls it Ethan Hunt is probably gonna attempt some aerobatic insanity because he doesn't want to hurt the guards. And that is very much Ethan. Okay. So that part is very much Ethan. And then you have like Anthony Hopkins, who is like the director of the IMF. He shows up for like 5 minutes in the beginning, and then like maybe 2 minutes at the end. That's it. And I remember people who saw him in the trailer because they show him in the trailer and he's talking a lot in the trailer, and I think people were disappointed that he wasn't there a lot. But I thought he did have one of the coolest lines ever. He says, "This is not mission difficult, Mr. Hunt. This is mission impossible."
I was like, I saw what you did.
That's pretty cool. And so there is also a scene where he breaks into like a building. But it's not as cool as the first one. But he does do like a stunt where he falls down that ventilator shaft thingy. So that's pretty cool.
And he does his pose, right? The whole arms and legs stretching up.
He does Tom Cruise has a pose for falling off,
down,
jumping off aeroplanes and stuff. Just like he has a very specific way of running.
Here's where like this film becomes more John Woo than John Woo films are. Is that
it's just after the lab scene. Oh, actually, in the middle of the lab scene.
Like in the shootout, like he just like jumps and then it goes slow motion and you get the whole bullet time thing. So that was like one instance. And then I think, so what basically happens in the lab scene was that he breaks in, he destroys
most of the virus, but then there's one final sample left.
And then the girl takes it and then she injects it herself.
And then it goes nuts. Then the shootout starts, and then you have like the Hans Zimmer music kicks in. And it's going into slow motion. The sparks are flying. Right? And the sparks, again, like if you watch a John Woo shootout, there's always a lot of sparks, a lot of stuff getting, like when the bullets start flying, it's very
chaotic.
Like you have like, debris,
smoke, and there's like fireworks, sparks, and like
and just then that's where I think the movie really starts
becoming a John Woo.
And it becomes really entertaining at that point. And then Tom Cruise jumps off the window. I love that run he does, like where the kind of sound kind of goes down, and then it's only the music, and he runs in slow motion, sparks, and then he flies off, jumps off the building. Like that is so cool. And then he goes into the final sequence, right? Like
I think in the final scene, what happens is the villain kidnaps the CEO, and then
he's trying to do the transfer thing. And again the mask thing comes in. And actually the mask thing comes in a couple of times, and I like how there's an interrogation scene where and then you see Ethan, but that's not Ethan. And Ethan is actually somewhere else wearing another mask. So you have these two scenes playing side by side. I thought that scene was really good. Where you have the Ethan pretending to be the scientist guy, interrogating the CEO.
CEO, yeah.
And I love how they trick him into thinking he's
In
dying.
and he's in a hospital, but
And
the truth
he
is
confesses the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, you have the bad guy who's
Yeah.
suspecting Tandy Newton's character.
Yeah.
So he shows up as Ethan.
Yes.
And then, like...
He tricks the girl.
He tricks the girl.
Saying, hey, look, stay here, don't go anywhere.
Yeah, I thought that was brilliant.
That was pretty good. I
Yeah.
was like, wait, what? Like, the plot twist
Yeah,
was
because you see on the other side, the scientist guy remove his face and it's Ethan.
Ethan, and then you go, oh.
Shit, that's not Ethan on the other side. So that was, again, like a very... Like, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
And then again, they do it again, like for the third time towards the end of the movie.
Yeah, so what happens towards the end, there's another lab and they're trying to like get the antidote.
No, they are like finishing the transfer thingy. Because the bad guy, Dougray Scott's character, is trying to sell the cure and the virus to the CEO guy.
Yes.
The thing that he stole.
Yeah. No, and also at the same time, he wants the stocks. He wants
to buy stocks because he knows that once the virus goes out the cure will become very expensive and the company will make a lot of money.
That's when, like, when Tom Cruise gets into the scene, that's when it becomes a John Woo film with the pigeons flying all over.
And he tricks the bad guy into shooting his own guy. I thought that was cool.
I actually thought like Tom Cruise is going to be dead in this, but then unconsciously you know that, because there have been 6 movies. Yeah. But when you're watching this film at that moment, like you were saying, Nuan, I felt, oh no, he's going to be dead.
Yeah, I think until that guy gets shot, you're like, you probably don't know what's going on, right?
Yeah.
But when he gets shot, okay, then there must be something happening. You can't kill Tom Cruise.
And then...
plot twist. He gets him to kill his own guy. That's pretty neat, right? And then
he takes the antidote too, right?
Yeah, he takes the whole thing.
And he runs away.
And there's like a cool scene where he's running in slow motion. He takes the masks off and then the theme comes in.
Dun, dun.
And then it's like a full-on John Woo at that point, right? Like
I think with the bike scene, also, he gets on a bike.
And I was watching it and I realized, okay, there's a guy. Okay, so Ethan is at the bad guy's compound and he's trying to escape. A bad guy attacks him on a bike. Why? Why are you attacking somebody with a bike?
Exactly.
It's obviously just so Ethan can get on a bike. But there's no other reason why he should be driving a bike.
That was there.
So he's on a bike and then the Dougray Scott is on a bike.
And they go on chasing each other for
amazing scene. And you have like Luther in the helicopter. Shooting a grenade launcher, and that's where his Versace gets shot.
He's like, my Versace.
He gets very upset, and then. But this one, I think the team doesn't do much. I feel.
Yeah, right. The team was pretty sidelined in this.
Yeah.
Luther didn't do much. He was only there for 4-5 minutes in the scene.
Yeah, he's only there in a couple of scenes, and he blows up some vehicle with the grenade launcher. But that's pretty much.
But just for like our listeners, there was a good stunt scene though in this one. It was the knife going.
Oh yeah, because after the car chase and everything,
there's a fight scene that happens.
Yeah, the knife goes pretty close to Ethan's eye, and that's actually real. It's mostly real.
Yeah. It was real apparently.
Yeah. They actually had it's probably not a real knife, but it's a prop knife that's probably still very close to his eye. And it looks really crazy. I don't know why he does it.
And then it was, but then it gets a bit goofy, right, towards the end, because he tries to like.
They have.
The fight scene happens. The bad guy is down, and then Tom Cruise is trying to get into the helicopter and get the cure to the girl, and that happens. And then the bad guy gets back up. And out of nowhere, there's a gun on the floor.
No, they actually show it like flying off in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
It falls off when they crash. And there's a small shot of it, the gun falling. So they do set it up. It's not like a random gun. It's one of their guns.
But then again,
he does a cool little thing with
kick, and then like he picks it up and bam, he does a whole James Bond kind of thing there.
I guess it's like a Matrix,
kind of
bullet time kind of a thing they wanted to do, but also very very much John Woo, right? In that earliest scene where the bad guy sees him walking past the flames, in slow motion, and
With-
there's a
with
dove. The dove comes out.
comes out. Yeah, that's a killer reference, right? The killer reference.
So yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah.
So I mean, this movie. I mean, I know it's not a very good Mission Impossible
movie, but
because it's a one-man show for most of it.
yeah.
And-
But it's a fun action movie.
Yeah, especially the last half
Yeah.
is really fun.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody, even if you don't like the rest of the movie, I don't think
Yeah.
you can watch the last half and say it's not entertaining.
Yeah, it is fun.
Yeah,
it is really fun. Yeah.
Tom Cruise is doing a lot of those stunts on the bike.
Yes.
All those,
True. Yeah.
you know, the part where he's like the bike is going and he's on the side.
Yeah.
Of
It's
it,
he's
like-
standing next to the bike while
Bike
he's
is
racing.
moving?
Yeah, yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stunts in this one.
Yeah.
And I guess we get to part 3 now.
Yeah.
The one that J.J. Abrams did.
Yeah.
And I like how, I think the first 3 movies especially, you can really see the director's style.
Mm-hmm.
So in part 3, you get a lot more lens flares.
Yes.
And,
I was gonna.
And a lot of that kind of fast editing kind of style.
Yeah. I could arguably say that this is like the underrated one out of all the 6 films, right? Because no one really talks about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely one of the most intense ones.
Mm-hmm. The opening scene was really intense, right?
I mean, it starts with like right in the middle of this interrogation.
Yes.
This countdown.
Yeah.
And you have Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yes.
You know, threatening to kill Ethan Hunt's wife. And he starts shouting, man. Like
Ethan is like, don't you dare shoot. And it's like,
and I like how when he starts counting, like you see Ethan at different phases. At first he tries to convince him that this is the thing.
Yeah.
The rabbit's foot is what he wanted.
Yeah.
And then he says, and then for a second he almost acts like he's not gonna shoot, right? But then he gets really worried.
Yeah.
And then he says, no, I'll get you the thing you want. I'll get you the thing you want.
Just let her go.
Yeah. And then at one point he starts to threaten the guy, and he realizes none of this is working.
Because the guy doesn't really care.
He
like,
doesn't
he's
care.
like,
and he counts down and he shoots, and
shoots.
you're like, oh my god, what just happened?
And then the opening theme starts in. Yeah.
That is like probably the most intense opening out of all the movies.
So I think in this one, what happens is obviously it's more toward the plot is more towards a villain, right? Who's a weapons dealer.
And there's another villain inside the IMF.
Yeah.
Who's
like, actually working together with this weapons dealer in order to like sell weapons to like Iraq.
Actually, when you think about it, Philip Seymour Hoffman is not the main villain.
The
main villain is actually the guy inside. It's just that when you see everything play out, Philip Seymour Hoffman is just sort of like a pawn. He's playing
like
a role.
And
that's quite brilliant actually, because he is the face of the villain for most of it.
Exactly.
And then I think Billy Crudup is the guy at the Dr. Manhattan guy.
The doctor.
He ends up being the villain. I mean, and this one this one is much more of a double agent kind of a like, you know, there's a guy inside, you don't know who the villain is, and you at one point Ethan suspects Lawrence Fishburne's character, who is now the director of the IMF
because at this point, like, so Ethan Hunt, who went from I think the first few films he's
the main agent,
and in this one he's more of like a trainer. And he wants to get married and he wants to move on. But then the IMF wants him because of this whole thing. And his student gets killed,
She
right?
gets killed in
because
the
there's
opening.
this chip or something inside her brain.
And that's kind of messed up, right? Like there's this scene
the way it sets off, it's like really messed up, because I was expecting like they would actually like explode her head, but no, it's like a eyes,
like a tiny
oh man, it's like
and that scene is pretty intense too, because they are saving her. And they're on this helicopter. There's another helicopter chasing them, and then they know that there's a explosive device in her head. They have to, like, there's a lot going on. And I mean, they managed to escape from the other helicopter, but then the explosive goes off. Like, oh my god! And then you see like her eye go.
Her eye goes like pretty crazy. Like one goes, it's like. It goes like pretty opposite.
She goes like cross-eyed kind of.
Cross-eyed,
And it's pretty messed up.
Messed up,
And that I think that's what really brings him back to the IMF, because now he has, it's kind of personal now. He wants to find out what happened, right?
What happened and why all of this is happening,
and they break into the Vatican. Oh my God.
Wow. So they're assembling the group.
Yeah.
And obviously Luther comes back. Simon Pegg is introduced in this film.
Yeah, he's like
I was expecting maybe in the second film he could have been introduced, but I don't know whether he was acting.
No, I don't think he was. I mean, the second team anyway, the team doesn't do a big role. Yeah. In the third one, there's a lot of teamwork.
Yes, there is a lot of teamwork.
They bring that right back.
Yeah.
I think because Mission Impossible is based on like a TV show.
Yes.
And maybe also like because J.J. Abrams did a lot of TV stuff as well. So maybe his whole thing was to make it more like the TV show, have more teamwork. Maybe that's how that happened. I like all the new people there.
Mm-hmm.
Maggie Q, and who's the guy? I forgot his name.
Yeah.
Is it like something Rhys something, right?
Yeah.
John Rhys. Not John Rhys Davies. John Rhys Davies is Gimli.
Yeah.
John Rhys Myers,
I think, right? So he was kind of, was he the IT? No, he was not the IT guy. He was more of
No, he's one of the guys who goes on the team.
Yeah.
Luther is still the hacker person. And the you have Benji, I mean Simon Pegg at the IMF.
But he's not like as involved in the.
They apparently wanted to get Ricky Gervais or something.
I heard.
And but I'm glad they got Simon Pegg. I feel like he's a better fit. For this role as Benji. And even his scene, like he has 2 scenes, they're very memorable.
Yeah, they are.
Like he starts going on about like this anti-god, this weapon or whatever thing, right?
Yeah, and Cambridge University, there's a lecturer was speaking about the anti-god
and he goes on this whole thing. And I'm like, wow.
And then Ethan is like looking clueless, like, what is he like talking about?
and I like how, the rabbit's foot is never revealed what it is. They never say what it is.
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
But then they got something, right?
They got something, but they don't say what it is, right?
What it is,
and even the bad guys are like, that's why the interrogation thing happens.
Yeah, because the bad guy also wants to know what it is.
Because the bad guy can't open the device to see what it is because it's probably because it's explosive or something.
Yeah,
I'm assuming it's antimatter.
Yeah.
I mean, because that guy calls it anti-god.
Anti-god,
I'm assuming it's antimatter.
Yeah.
So you can't open it.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out what it is. Yeah. And I think that's kind of interesting because it's obviously the MacGuffin, but I guess it's JJ telling us that this is not the point of the movie.
Yeah.
You don't need to know what this is.
Yeah.
The point of the movie is basically Ethan trying to have his private life and how the two things are gonna clash. You can't have both. You can't have a wife.
The thing about J.J. Abrams, what I liked what he did in this film was that he made Ethan Hunt more than a 2-dimensional character, unlike the previous films.
Yeah.
And like give him more of a backstory of like he's a normal person like us.
Yeah.
And it's very relatable.
Like he wants to just live a normal life.
Yeah. It's not like this whole thing is not only about IMF. Ethan Hunt is also a human being. He has other things. So
like gives him some really personal stakes. I mean, obviously his wife is gonna be in danger at one point, and so I think maybe that's why you don't really need to know what's in the can. They call it the rabbit's foot. It's like some random name. Like you don't.
It's just a plot device. We don't know what it is. It's kind of like in Pulp Fiction. We don't know what's in the briefcase. But we know there's something in the briefcase.
It's something valuable.
But
it's not the point of the story.
It's a lot more.
And you get a lot of cool sequences. Like you get the Vatican scene. I thought was pretty cool. He wears a mask to go as what's his character? Davian, right? Davian is the bad guy.
Yes.
Philip Seymour Hoffman's character. Yeah. So they're trying to kidnap him.
Yeah.
So he takes a mask, and we actually see the mask being made.
They use this device.
And so you get a scene where you have 2 Philip Seymour Hoffmans walking around, and it's kind of funny actually.
And also like in that scene, they also show this voice manipulation tape attached on top of their neck.
They have it in the second one.
Second one, that's
but
when
they
it's
don't,
introduced,
But
right?
in the third one, they show how, like,
Yeah.
because you have Maggie Q going in and scanning the guy's face
Yeah.
from a distance, and then later when they catch him,
Yeah, they try to like record his voice so that
Yeah.
they could
Yeah.
kind of like get the I don't know how to explain it.
it
Yeah.
duplicates the voice.
Voice and whatnot.
and I like how it takes a while to get ready. So he has to pretend that he has a cough or
Cough,
something.
yeah.
While the other guy is holding Philip Seymour Hoffman behind the door. I thought that was brilliant. And also, like, there's a moment where when Ethan puts on the mask,
Yeah.
he hasn't put the voice on yet.
Yes.
So you see Philip Seymour Hoffman sort of pretending to be Tom Cruise because he hugs Luther in that scene where this is the scene where he tells Luther that he's getting married.
Yeah.
And Luther is telling him, I think, this is a very bad idea, this relationship. And then Ethan is like, I asked her to marry me. Yeah. And then he says, congratulations. And they hug. And then Philip Seymour Hoffman is hugging Luther. And his performance is very Tom Cruise. The way he hugs him. And I thought that was cool. So you actually have Philip Seymour Hoffman pretending to be like almost like a Tom Cruise type of
kind of character.
that was quite cool.
Only issue I had with this film was that there was so much going on.
Yeah.
I think that I feel that is one of many reasons why people don't really, because like there's so much going on, you don't have time to like breathe and like kind of
about like the details are a bit hard to follow.
Yeah,
you kind of like
it just goes over your head.
Yeah, I think you just have to kind of just enjoy the moment in this movie. Kind of like, okay, what's going on now?
Yeah, but I felt like there was so much going on. It was like I was like, whoa. Like,
it's a bit hard to follow. Okay, who's doing what?
Yeah.
What's going on and like why are they here?
Because action scene after action scene, it keeps on going.
Yeah. It's pretty intense. It's pretty intense as well.
Yeah. And then obviously, like, we come to the scene where in the beginning of the movie where the interrogation goes on and the deal is
turns
like,
out it's a mask.
Yes, it's a mask. It's actually the weapons dealer's
Davian's,
translator.
His translator person.
Who we saw in the Vatican. Yeah, and basically now Tom Cruise has to go to Shanghai to get this rabbit's foot, right?
Yeah. And there's a really cool jump that he does.
Yes.
From this other building, swings to the other building that has the lab or whatever thingy. Yeah. And then he falls down the side of the building.
Yes.
And he's shooting the guards, and that's pretty cool. And then there's a car chase after that.
That's where you kind of notice also the J.J. Abrams signature, the lens flare in Shanghai. You see a lot of
lens flares. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a funny moment where because he parachutes out of the building and then he crashes back into the building.
Yes.
And then there's like a janitor who sees him.
He crashes to another building, right? Like
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember which building, but he crashes into
another building. Yeah.
And there's a car chase, and then the interrogation scene happens, and then.
But also there was this other stunt where an actual car comes very close to Tom Cruise's face, which was really like intense.
Yeah. And even that scene where he's leaning out of the car to shoot the other car, like he's like a few inches off the ground. Like, wow. Like amazing what this guy does. And then after that scene, interrogation scene, he has to find the building that his wife is in.
Yes.
And he has to get there. I mean, he has a very limited time. He has to go before the bad guy gets there.
Yeah.
And he also has an explosive in his head as well, right?
Yeah.
And then you have this amazing scene where he jumps on the rooftops.
Yeah.
And then he runs down the street. Yes. And the camera just goes
that's very therapeutic at one point. I really enjoyed that whole running scene.
Yeah.
I think out of all the films, that was like my most favorite running scene.
Yeah.
Because like he's running in middle where like
there are people
around, but he's still running and the camera like smoothly follows them.
Yeah. And it's a very long unbroken shot.
Yeah.
And this guy is running so fast. And you're like, oh my god, like if he falls down, like but like I think that really kind of I think that's one of the first times I think that really people noticed how good his running is.
Yes.
People like, wow, this guy is
Because
really.
the first run we couldn't they couldn't do it.
They didn't really show it like this. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
he did run in other movies. It's just
but
that in this scene,
it's a bit more noticeable.
You really see the physicality involved in how much he puts into just the running.
Running, yeah.
And you're like, wow, this is like, it's like a stunt. Like,
and he's running barefoot also. Keep in mind.
Is it barefoot?
I think he was running barefoot because he was also like chained up and all, and yeah, I
don't
remember.
think he was barefoot, but he's definitely running really fast. It's very cool to watch, and then and then he goes and there's a moment where his wife has to shoot the bad guys because he's knocked out.
Yeah,
I thought that was cool.
That was intense.
Yeah.
That was really intense. Yeah, and also the fight scene was also pretty intense with Beppelsdale and him. Like,
when Philip Seymour Hoffman character comes back, and then the Tom Cruise is like Ethan's charge is about to go off.
Yeah.
So he's kind of paralyzed a little.
He can't do much. And he's beating him up and throwing him around
and then Davian gets hit by a truck or gets his head taken off. Pretty intense stuff, man. I mean, JJ kind of,
I think this was his first debut, right?
Yeah, this is his first feature film, I think.
I mean,
pretty good job.
Yeah, I mean, because he's known for TV, right? Like Lost and I remember he wrote Fringe. I think he was one of the writers for
and
Fringe.
he was on Alias, I think.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
I think I heard that because the thing was when I was actually before we were starting the podcast, I was trying to understand more about Mission Impossible 3 because I felt like now when you watch it, it feels like you're watching these old 2006-8 films that came straight to DVD because I don't know, it kind of gave that quality. I don't know, maybe at that time it looked really good, but now it kind of looks like that. I think the darkness and all of that, the lighting,
I guess it's the kind of the way he shoots. There's a lot of close-ups and the third one doesn't feel as epic as the ones that come after. It doesn't have the grand wide shots of
and it's a totally different film from the first two.
Very much more intense. And I want to just mention Lawrence Fishburne is really badass in this. He's the only IMF director that actually scares the hell out of me. Because he criticizes everything. He questions every single thing that I love that scene where hey, we recovered this laptop. And then he counters that. He's like, oh no, but it got burned, right? Crispy is what the guys told me. And then
the ID told me.
And then Billy Crudup's character says, as head of this mission, excuse me, did you just throw a title at me?
I love that scene.
Every single thing he has to say. And there's a scene where they catch Ethan because they think Ethan is the bad guy. And Ethan is lying on this bed kind of a thing, and he's tied up. And then you get a close up of Lawrence Fishburne's face. And he has this line. He says, "Make no mistake, I will bleed on the flag to make sure the stripes stay red." I'm whoa.
And then he was and then before that he was saying, "Oh yeah, you can give all those judgmental lies as much as you can, but." Then that guy, oh shit.
That's what he said. I was wow. I remember that line.
And Ethan is just looking at him he can't say anything.
And just before that, there's a really cool scene on the bridge where there's this drone thing that comes and attacks everyone. And there's I remember this shot from the trailer, Tom Cruise running away from the SUV and it gets bombed. And Ethan Hunt gets he gets blasted off his feet and hits this car.
That was also pretty intense.
That was intense, man. I was
because there's actual people in it. And there's actual stakes also in it.
And I like how they show that the IMF team care about the civilians. They try to
it's not like this very ignorant CIA kind of thing going on.
They always try to protect the people. And I thought that drone scene was really terrifying. like especially when he hits that car, like he gets thrown off, and he probably did that for real.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's some pretty intense stuff in the third one.
Yeah.
And then I guess we go into Ghost Protocol.
Yeah. Because after the
yeah.
third one, there was this kind of period.
Yeah,
where
nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we wondering, okay, is there a Mission Impossible movie?
Yeah.
Because there were rumors also going on.
Yeah.
And we don't know who was going to direct or who was going to do it. And then the news kind of dropped in. I remember this was happening in school.
Right.
And then everyone's like, oh, it was a hype, and yeah. I think the fourth one is still one of my like top favorites.
Yeah. I think it's definitely the one that brought the series back. Cause I think after the third one, people were not sure. Because in the third one ends with kind of Ethan walking away with the wife.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a happy ending. And then you're like, okay, that's the end of... It's almost like an ending to that first three, right?
Yeah.
And then it was done for a while, and they needed... and the fourth one needed to be good if they were going to bring it back.
There's a lot of pressure also on the fourth film.
Yeah.
But it really did a good job, though.
Yeah. And apparently at one point they were going to have Ethan become the new secretary of the IMF.
Oh, okay.
So, and he would have become like the Lawrence Fishburne or type of character.
But he would still be involved in the
He would
film?
still be involved, but he won't be the main agent.
Oh,
So then the main agent would have been Jeremy Renner.
Okay.
That's why they had him.
And but then they changed the plan.
What happened was at some point during this was in the middle of production. Right, they were already filming some stuff. Tom Cruise's guy, Christopher McQuarrie, who is now the director of the new films, he brought him on board to write and change stuff. So this guy is now was apparently from what we know. None of this is 100% confirmed. But he did do some rewrites, and he was doing it while they were shooting. And so they changed the ending to kind of keep Ethan still as the main agent. And director Brad Bird, thankfully he was okay with this. Because it would have been a bad idea to have.
I mean, it would have been a flop if they just went ahead with that. What you're explaining.
And also like the thing is,
I think even Tom Cruise must have like had to say.
He must have realized, right?
Like he was like, this is not working out. We need to get back into it.
So like we were just talking a bit earlier, right? Before we were cut off. Sorry about that. So we were talking about how Christopher McQuarrie came in to do some rewrites, and I guess maybe they realized that cutting Ethan Hunt's character out as the main character was probably a mistake because
I mean he's the face of the franchise.
He's the face of the franchise, and
I mean it's
and the thing is, the franchise is mostly people go to watch this because they want to see what Tom Cruise does next. And this is like you really see this in the fourth movie because the Burj Khalifa thing, that stunt was what really convinced people to go and watch the movie. That was in all over the marketing.
I remember this.
It was all over the marketing. It became the main highlight. And from then on, every movie has had this amazing stunt that was the big thing in the marketing, right? And so imagine if you don't have Tom Cruise, people won't go
I don't think Jeremy Renner would be able to do that.
I mean, I like Jeremy Renner, but this is not for him.
But I'll tell you, this actually happened not with Mission Impossible, but with the Jason Bourne film.
Yeah, they did.
Because they actually did it. Where Matt Damon was not involved. I think it was called Bourne Legacy, and it was only Jeremy Renner's character, and it flopped.
And it was not good.
I don't know whether it happened before this film or afterwards.
It was around the same time.
Same time, right? I think,
I think there was a time just after the first Avengers movie where everyone tried to put Jeremy Renner
somewhere.
I think Hollywood thought that Jeremy Renner was going to be like the
main
next
star.
action guy. And I mean, I like him. He's a good actor. He's a really good actor, but I don't think he's. He's
got the
leading man
kind
of a franchise thing going on.
Yeah.
But he's really good as like
A supporting character.
as the Brent or whoever that supporting character is. I thought he's really good as that guy. But he's not Ethan Hunt, and you know, and obviously he's not. I don't think, you know, he might do some stunts on his own, but you can't expect him to hang out the back of a plane, right?
And also like since you're speaking about the background of what was happening with the film and all, I mean, before this film actually came out, we had obviously James Bond films that came out, and obviously Jason Bourne, which kind of changed spy movies forever, right? Because back then it was just the, you know, goofy gadgets and, you know, less realism when it came to the fight scenes and whatnot. But I think this film kind of became more grounded than
actually I wouldn't say it's more grounded though, because the gadgets in this are way more over the top.
Goofy, but I'm saying like the fight scenes and all bit more like the action scenes are more like realistic.
Yes,
like,
that's true. And like they even have like the opening scene has like Josh Holloway from Lost, but he gets killed off like really fast. I kind of feel bad. I feel like, because that scene is pretty cool when he's on a mission. And then you have Ethan Hunt in this prison
in Russia.
and they break him out, and he doesn't speak a lot during the prison, right? He barely speaks.
Like, because you can see his head.
Yeah.
Like his head, and like he's just like throwing a ball, I think a rock.
And
then he's like, it's just like bouncing off.
He's bouncing the rock around the walls, and catching it, like wow. And then you have like Benji is hacking the security system
to get him out.
And I like how Benji is like, no Ethan, I want you to go in this direction.
No, I want to go and get this other dude who was like very cool with me in prison.
And it's so Tom Cruise, the way the reaction he gives when Benji doesn't let him go. And he just kind of...
Also, I think this is a film where Benji and Ethan Hunt's chemistry, you see a lot more in it, right? Going forward,
you have that scene where it's the first time Benji is in the field. He's very excited to be with Ethan Hunt. And he says, it's a shame we can't use masks, because he really loves using masks. But they're not using it. And then... there's a funny scene where when they're breaking into the Kremlin, where, you know, they have to hack into the thing, and it's taking too long. And he's really good right next to Tom Cruise. Because he's very different from Tom Cruise. So he's, you know, his comedic timing is really good. And I like the scene where Ethan can tell that Benji is a bit like anxious and is kind of scared, and then Ethan puts like a hand on his shoulder, like, and to really calm him down. I thought that was really cute. and then he starts talking about his wife, right? Because there's stories about what happened to Ethan's wife, but nobody knows what really happened. And then I like how that's sort of in the background.
Because usually like I mean, if you take films like these, they don't really continue most of the stories that happened previously. I thought maybe, that didn't happen because they want to continue Tom Cruise being Ethan Hunt, so maybe they kind of push that away. But they know they actually give a backstory to what actually happened.
So, and it's pretty nice, like how that builds up slowly. And then when they introduce Jeremy Renner's character, and he seems to know who Ethan is, and you're wondering, okay, what's up with him? Because he's being a bit suspicious as well. So that's cool.
I thought he must be another IMF mole, and maybe he could be
maybe
the
he's a bad, because you suspect he's a bad
guy. The way he acts and like
because he can fight, but he pretends in the beginning that he doesn't know anything.
So I think in this film, I think the plot is basically, I think we went from IMF mole to a virus to a weapons deal, and now we are going to Russian nuclear codes, something like that.
So the bad guy wants to blow up the world.
Over the
simple
top.
As that. There's really he's sort of like a apocalyptic kind of a guy. So he's trying to steal some codes and the nuclear device and a bunch of stuff like that. Really, I don't think that's the interesting part of the whole thing. Again, I think I don't think the bad guy's plot is ever the main focus of these movies. It's kind of an excuse to do all this stuff. So that's fine. But they do get to break into the Kremlin, which is cool. And then
also, like in the Kremlin, that there's this really nice scene when they're trying to they use this screen. It gets
the
really
corridor.
silent. And I kind of like that scene because you feel the intensity.
And it's funny too.
It's funny too.
Like you have this little gadget that makes it sound like there's
water droplet sounds. And so basically in the scene there, I think Tom Cruise and so Ethan Hunt and Benji wants to break into the Kremlin to get the nuclear codes before the other guy gets it. But then
the other guy is already there.
He's got it, and he just walks away. And
I like how in this scene Ethan is not wearing a mask. He's just wearing like a prosthetic makeup thingy.
With a nose and with a mustache and all.
And then after the Kremlin blows up, Ethan gets arrested, and I like the cop that comes after him. There's a bit of a funny scene where Ethan is trying to escape, and you think Ethan is already gone. But then the cop looks out of the window and he's still there.
So Ethan is like standing in the corner of the the edge of the building outside, and the cop is like looking at him like, nah, you're not gonna jump. And
he lights a cigarette.
He lights a cigarette and he's like, I'm just gonna stand here until like you come back. And like Ethan is like, you sure about that? And then like a van comes in and then he jumps. And then the funny scene is and then there's a shot where we look back at the cop and he looks like surprised, like, wait, what?
He didn't expect
he actually did that? Because the only option is like there's like a garbage kind of canister down.
But it's too far. He's probably gonna get hurt. And so the cop knows he's not gonna jump. But that was funny. That was a really good scene. And then later on they assemble the team. And then they go to the Burj Khalifa scene, and that is, I mean, incredible. I mean, what they did there.
I think this time Luther actually kind of comes in, right?
Wait, Luther is not in this one.
Oh yeah,
this is the one that Luther shows up right at the end. For like a little cameo scene, but he's actually not there. I mean, Benji is the main tech guy now. You have, I think, Paula Patton is there, and Jeremy Renner's character is there, and they do this cool thing. And one thing I really like about this movie is that in this movie, every gadget fails at some point. Every gadget fails, and they try to do the masks, and Benji gets excited, but then the mask machine kind of breaks down, and then
they have to like improvise and kind of like,
and they have to do this thing where they are in two different rooms pretending to be the other people, right? That was really cool. And then obviously the Tom Cruise climbing on the Burj Khalifa.
That was intense.
That was so.
As someone who's scared of heights, that is really intense.
Man.
Because they show a shot like you could see down and it's like really far down.
It's a shot where Tom Cruise steps out and the camera goes out with him. And it goes down and you see the bottom, like, wow. and what I like about it is like the comedy never stops. There's always something funny going on. Like so you have like this amazing scene where when Tom Cruise is coming back down and the rope is not long enough and he has to jump and he hits his head and then he's about to fall and they catch him and they bring him back inside
and Benji just like walks in and is like,
that was not easy.
And everyone is looking at Benji like, what did you say?
I thought that's such a perfect way to kind of break the tension kind of a thing, because you had this very intense scene and then you need something light for the audience to laugh and kind of chill, right? Because that scene, you're like at the edge of your seat. You're like, oh my God, is he gonna fall? I mean, it's a movie. He's not gonna die, but it's still intense. And then Benji shows up. And then and there's actually, you have the bad guy wearing a mask in that scene, right?
Right.
Because Ethan chases after this guy, but it's actually the other guy. But I mean, they're like almost interchangeable.
Also at the same time, like, so after that whole scene with, Tom Cruise jumping back into the hotel room. There's this sandstorm that comes in.
Yeah.
That chase scene was really intense. Like you felt like it was a sandstorm.
Yeah.
Because even the colors also were like really orange and like
they really that scene looks really good too.
I have a feeling it's more CGI, but it felt real.
I mean, they probably used some fans or something. But I'm guessing they didn't wait for a real sandstorm to hit Dubai, right? So it's probably not real. Even Tom Cruise probably wouldn't do that.
Yeah, he won't. It's too dangerous.
And then you get like this scene where Jeremy Renner's character starts to kind of open up about what happened.
Yeah.
So he feels bad because he thinks Ethan's wife died because of him.
Because he couldn't protect her.
Yeah. And so you kind of then you like really feel bad for like, oh wow, and it goes to a place where you don't expect it to go there. Like you don't know, because at that point you don't know what's going on, right?
Yeah.
You are probably thinking, okay, Jeremy Renner is some other agent.
Sneaky,
he's up to no good, right? But then you realize, oh, this is actually going into Ethan's backstory.
Yeah,
and it's actually like it goes sad, like kind of sad, like you don't see that coming. Yeah. And then after that, it's like
they go to India.
Yeah. And then was it who is it? Anil Kapoor, right? Is the guy?
I think. Because I've seen him in so much films, and
he's very funny. I thought he's a bit over the top, but
but towards the ladies, I always felt he was a bit, rapey in my opinion.
He is really kind of weird. Yeah. But I think they kind of like
they kind of put it down a notch, because in his other Hindi movies towards the women it's like really weird,
right?
But in this it was like
this is actually turned down
version, because in the other films it's like pretty wild, right? It's like whoa, like
but it is funny when Paula Patton's character like beats him up. That was very funny to watch.
And he has this weird king towards that, right?
Yeah, that's true. And there's another funny scene where Jeremy Renner has to jump and
in order to
Benji,
switch the codes
and Benji is like, and I'll catch you.
I'll catch you.
And I like how it's this very dangerous thing, and Benji is like,
don't worry,
he's so like
so chill.
He's so chill about it. He doesn't really and the technology, remember, all the gadgets in this movie fail, and this thing hasn't been properly tested. And so you can obviously see how scared Jeremy Renner looks. And then
and also, like, for context, you need to understand, like, the IMF is like disavowed because of this whole
so they don't have all
situation. So they initially so when they escape from the whole Kremlin thing, they get into this train which has all the IMF gadgets in there, and so they just pick up everything that they can, and that's why some of the gadgets don't work, because maybe they are like prototypes and all.
I don't think they're probably like you said, prototypes, not properly fully tested. And they all fail. And I like how at the end of the movie, actually I think that's deliberate, because at the end of the movie, Ethan Hunt has a line. He says, when everything else went wrong, it's this team that the teamwork. The teamwork is what worked, right? He says
he gave his leader kind of like a leader speech.
So that's probably like intentional on the writers and the directors' part, by having the gadgets fail, but the team always gets it done, right? So if so even no matter what else fails, like the team will pull through. So that was, I thought, was pretty cool.
I also felt like at some point, like, the people who are like part of this franchise felt like, okay, if we depended too much on the gadgets, this may be like another James Bond ripoff. But instead, let's do this our way and like make the gadgets kind of secondary or the last thing to be.
And the fact that it fails adds to the tension, because when Ethan is climbing on the Burj Khalifa, when the gloves start failing, you're like, oh my god, what's he gonna do now? Right?
And it's also funny because, like, when he removes one of the gloves, it kind of comes back.
It comes back.
And then it kind of goes off.
and like even the thing that he uses to cut the window, that thing fails, right?
That was intense too.
The masks fail. Like so many things fail in this, and then you have that scene in the car park. At the end, where he's fighting the bad guy, and then
that was also another like.
And he drives the car off, the top of that thing, and it falls down. And then he smashes the button. Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished.
That was a funny moment. And then even Luther has a laugh at the end.
He's like, wait, you said mission accomplished? And like that becomes the whole thing.
And then they have this nice moment towards the end where he gives the missions to the other people. And so I guess maybe that could have been a remnant from the earlier script where he becomes the director, the secretary,
could have,
where he starts giving the missions, right? So it's maybe that's a part that remained from that earlier script, maybe.
But then that could have been the initial scene for that. For the script, and maybe they're like, no.
Let's still keep him as Agent Hunt. And then we
see Ethan's wife.
And then he tells Brent's character that she's still alive.
You thought that I would just let her die?
Nah. So
she's under my
actually
protection. So
it's actually like a nice ending. I mean, it's kind of sad, but you still know that everyone is okay. So it's kind of a ending on a lighter note, I guess.
And then towards the end, obviously, as usual in every Mission Impossible film, there's a new mission briefing. But this time we actually hear a bit of the briefing. We hear that there's a thing called the Syndicate. Which comes up in the next one. And so I guess we go to Rogue Nation. Rogue Nation.
So
I feel like we do have to consider plot, because this is like IMF versus the anti-IMF, which is a syndicate, right? And I think Ethan Hunt is actually on this whole conspiracy that there's this group called Syndicate, and at the same time the CIA wants him.
The CIA doesn't trust him. And also because the CIA is investigating because of the Kremlin bombing. I like how Alec Baldwin says, this is the Kremlin before the IMF.
IMF came.
This is the one after, and it's blown up.
And then Jeremy Renner's character goes, I cannot state anything without the
secretary's approval. Because the secretary died in the fourth
film,
and they don't have a new one yet. And I like how he's sort of covering for Ethan.
I actually thought at one point maybe Anthony Hopkins' character could come in and like something. Cause
I hope he does come. Or Lawrence Fishburne maybe at one point, hopefully.
Because like usually in a film when they say that, like when they say a line like that, you feel out of nowhere a door opens and someone walks in. It's like, sorry too. But it didn't happen. So okay, cool. I thought maybe he's the new secretary.
He becomes a new secretary, right? Alec Baldwin becomes a new secretary at the end of the movie. So that's a good arc he has. It's pretty cool. And then and also then there's the mission briefing in this one when Rogue Nation starts. It's actually the Syndicate people who have trapped Ethan, right? So that's a good reversal of because you don't expect it to go there. And then he sees this guy, Sean. I think it's Sean Harris's character. So this guy is pretty creepy.
What was his name? I forgot.
Solomon Lane.
Solomon Lane.
Yeah. So I like the plot in this one because it's
I liked his look. Because he gave this John Doe kind of look, like
it's like a nobody.
Exactly.
His face in this one, you won't recognize him if you saw him on the street.
Which kind of makes him kind of like a cool villain.
Because he's like an assassin, right? He'll disappear. Nobody will. I mean, everyone. I mean, Tom Cruise's face is pretty memorable. He's too good looking. And Solomon Lane is like
a normal, exactly.
And like, and so obviously, he starts coming in, and then Ethan is hunting him down. And
there's this agent who's working under Lane, who is like a double agent. She's like a disavowed British MI6 agent.
Rebecca Ferguson's character. I mean, she has really good chemistry with Tom Cruise.
It's not like a relationship. It has a very platonic kind of a thing going on, right? Because I mean, Ethan is married. And
well, I mean, not. I mean, I think he's sort of moving on.
Yeah,
I mean, they are sort of. I think they are setting up. What's her name? Ilsa, right? Ilsa's character as probably as a partner.
Yeah.
I think that's where it's sort of heading. But I like how it's the way it starts. It's like he realizes, okay, she has probably gone through the same stuff he has gone through. Like it's very similar. Like and he understands what that life is like, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense. And I like how they go to the opera and it's this brilliant scene, like they have to stop the assassination.
Oh, that was really good.
That was so good. Like you have the music playing and then you have like so many things going on, right? You have like Benji's character, you have Ethan trying to fight this one guy, you have Ilsa also there, and then you have that other guy, the guy who dressed like a cop, and they're all here for the assassination, and you're like,
they want to assassinate some chancellor.
The Austrian chancellor or something.
Swedish.
And it's this amazing sequence. Like the way it's edited, it's so good. Like you can clearly see what's going on.
And also I think it kind of adds to that intensity effect, because if she screws up, she gets killed anyways. There's always another one to kill her. And I think that was the whole setup for this.
It was actually to see whether she's loyal. And it's such a brilliant scene.
And also Benji actually is in the field, and he actually fights one of the guys.
Actually, he was in the fourth one as well.
But
he's a field agent now. And in the beginning, he kind of pretends like he's not friends with Ethan. Because the CIA is investigating the whole thing, and Alec Baldwin's character. And then the opera scene is so good. Like
and then I think, if I'm correct, from this point, once that happens, was it the drive?
They have a drive, and so Solomon Lane's character, he's after the. Okay, so there's a vault that has information, right?
It's this underwater
so
vault.
One of his agents, from what I remember, I had to watch this movie many times to finally understand.
Because the plot in this is pretty confusing. The action is pretty good, but the plot is a bit confusing.
So the idea is that Solomon Lane is recruiting disavowed agents, or agents that are dead. Right?
On record, who are dead, but they're actually alive.
So they pretend like these people are dead, and so he recruits them. And so one of the agents stole something from him and hid it in that vault. So that information would expose who he is. Because the CIA doesn't believe
that
the
there is
syndicate.
Such thing called the syndicate.
So they need proof, right? So nobody believes in this thing. So you can't expose this guy. So they need proof. So they think that if you break in and get this information, you'll be able to expose him. But what's actually inside is like a, what do you call, like a red box or something, what they call it, which can only be opened by the Prime Minister of the UK. Right? So it's actually the MI6 kind of operation that has turned on, like kind of...
because Lane believes that like the British government is pretty corrupt. And so his idea, he basically wants to use his organization against them.
But that's what he wants now, right? But that's not... The MI6 operation was basically there to like... to kind of like Black Ops missions that are off the record. Right? So the Prime Minister could kill anyone he wants at any time. But he didn't want to do it, so he asked it to be cancelled, which is I thought it was pretty cool. Interesting for a character like that, right? And then but the MI6 director went ahead anyway. And now Solomon Lane is sort of going around doing his own thing, so he has to be... So the MI6 wants to cut ties to him. So basically that's why the MI6 wants the information. That's why they send Ilsa. And what they find inside the vault is actually the resources.
Where they get accounts, the money from.
The money, the kind of untraceable money they have to do whatever the assassinations or whatever they wanted to do. So that's what's in the vault. Of course, this is revealed step by step. We don't know everything at this point, right? So they go into this vault. It's this and you can't go into the vault because
it's like inside this. I think it's a power station or something. It's like a reservoir or something.
So the vault is accessed by Benji.
Yeah.
Who wants to wear a mask this time, but again he doesn't get to wear a mask.
Yeah.
I feel bad for him. So
well, he
has to go.
Yeah.
He has to go in. But the thing is, the security system doesn't have his information.
Yeah.
So he'll be caught. So they have to
also,
go.
like, they have like these motion sensors. So they know
they track his gait.
Yeah.
Like how he walks.
Weird.
Weird, right? So you can't wear a mask, you can't wear a thumbprint, you have to walk in a certain way which you can't mimic. So you have to get his records into the security system, which is why they have to go through the water tank and change the security system.
And switch whatever it is. And that's intense because I think the whole thing works for like 3 minutes. There's a 3-minute window where they can do the whole thing. And obviously within 3 minutes, after 3 minutes, you're basically dead.
So Tom Cruise actually, I think at the time broke a record for being underwater without breathing.
For more than like 3 minutes or something.
I think actually he stayed longer because when you're filming, you have to like
do several takes. He actually did it. He actually put in those.
Because I think you have to wait till the bubbles go away. So and wait for the crew to be ready, and so he actually waited longer. And I think his record was broken by Kate Winslet in Avatar 2. She stayed longer than him. So she has the record now. Which is interesting. So anyway, Tom Cruise was underwater for a long time. And that scene is intense, man. And I like
because the thing is, like, not only you have to switch the codes and all, there are these security systems also.
There's a thing that's turning
around, and like he gets knocked over by one of them, and
that's pretty intense. And
I like how and the woman comes in and kind of swoops in and saves.
I like how there's that meter is there on his arm, so you can tell like how much oxygen he has.
But this time the gadgets are pretty low key, no? They're not like out there.
They are not. I mean, they are high tech, but they're not. They're not noticeable like the ones in 4.
Or in the first one or the second or the third one.
They're kind of out of the way.
I feel like it's in disguise with the suits and all of that stuff.
And then after they steal the stuff from the vault, there's this amazing car chase. Like there's bikes and Tom Cruise does this thing where he spins the car. And he hits the guys and the bikes. I was like, wow.
That was
that looks so cool, like the way they shoot that.
And also the bike scene, like when he got on the bike without a helmet or anything.
I mean,
like,
Tom Cruise always rides a bike without a helmet. In every movie. I think he does it because you can see it's him riding.
Riding it,
Of course, it's very dangerous.
Please don't do that.
I mean, I think it started in Top Gun, the very first Top Gun.
Yes,
he did it.
First Top.
And one of my friends was saying, like, how is he allowed to ride a bike on a military base without a helmet?
Exactly. That's a good question.
He's Tom Cruise. They let him do it. But in pretty much every movie, he doesn't wear a helmet.
Even the second one, there's a bike scene, so he doesn't
in
wear a
every
helmet.
Scene, he never wears a helmet. I think he does it because, like I said...
He just wears glasses and then he just does his whole cool thing.
No, because he wants us to see it's him.
Because
you see a lot of other movies where...
You can always see behind.
You see an actor, they get on a bike, then they put on a helmet with a completely black what do you call the glass
shade,
and you never see who it is. I remember watching there's this movie, what's that, something with Ryan Reynolds,
was it
Assassin's Bodyguard?
No, the Hitman's
Bodyguard. Horrible movie. Hated it. But there's a scene where he gets on a bike and then the guy on the bike is doing all kinds of stunts, but you never see his face. You're like, that's obviously not Ryan Reynolds.
He is too old.
And but Tom Cruise, you can clearly tell it's him. So that's pretty cool.
He jumps on the bike, he puts on his shades and chases that woman. And then the scene when the woman just stands in the middle. And then he just
slides. It falls down.
Oof,
I'm sure they filmed it in such a way he didn't fall down like that. It's probably like a multiple takes or something. I don't think they would do something like that. Even with Tom Cruise, I don't think he would do something like that. But there's like this amazing crash when the car goes back.
Yeah,
and,
like when the people
Yeah.
following him, he just like puts on the
Yeah.
brake and then he starts like turning around. Yeah.
And then you have Luther and
Yeah.
Brent in the other vehicle.
It's like, and then Ethan is like, hi, and then like he goes on like, oh, and then he actually scolds Luther. He's like, you decided to get the 4x4
Yeah.
like when there's literally a car chase. That was so funny. I was like, yeah, obviously.
I like how they used Brent and Luther in this movie. Like they are on their own.
Because the goal is they want to find Ethan before the CIA does and before they kill him.
Because the CIA want to kill him.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. I like how that happened. And then the final kind of sequence is sort of like
they're in London and
there's this party thing.
Yeah. And the Prime Minister.
They have to get the Prime Minister. I thought that was brilliant. So you have Ethan going as he goes as the MI6 director, right?
Director, yeah.
And that was, again, I didn't see that coming.
I didn't expect it, because I thought like while that was going on, out of like there's that speech that the CIA director says.
That's amazing. What Hunt is the manifestation of destiny.
And he has made it your mission. He has made you his mission.
Yeah, and he says he can be anyone. He has most likely anticipated this very conversation. And he's right there.
That's like God level there.
And I really
because I thought after when he says that, out of nowhere, like Ethan Hunt would like tap behind him and like punch him or something like that.
But it's actually right?
The MI6 director,
And I also like how for a while it almost looks like Brent is gonna betray him.
Yeah.
But then he's actually on his side. I thought that was interesting. And then you have Alec Baldwin also now involved in that whole situation, and they tranquilize the Prime Minister. And I thought that was really funny. Tom Holland as the Prime Minister was, totally unexpected.
Yeah.
I didn't even know he was in the movie. The first time I watched it, I was like, wow, okay, he's in the movie, he's the Prime Minister. And he's really funny. And then it's sort of like a truth serum kind of a thing as well, right?
Because like they ask him questions, what is the code, and he says the code is Kipling,
and there's a it's sort of like a prompt, and he has to give the
voice,
and then they find out that the syndicate was actually started by the MI6.
But the Prime Minister rejected it, and that's when actually even the CIA director who's in the room realized, there is something called the syndicate.
And
he's like, and then that's when things start to turn around, right?
Like, that's where I think the Alec Baldwin's character realizes, okay.
Actually, I kind of liked him in this.
I like him. I like how in the beginning he doesn't trust anyone.
Yeah, like he doesn't really care.
But then he starts to like kind of respect Ethan. He probably doesn't respect his methods. But he realizes, okay, Ethan is actually like a good guy, and he's trying to do something good, and then they finally go after Solomon. In the scene, and they catch Benji. I thought,
they kidnap Benji, right?
And then they put a bomb to him. I was like, wow. And then
that was also intense because like he's controlled by Lane.
Because Lane is telling Benji what to say, and all the stuff that Solomon Lane wants to say, Benji is saying. I thought that's kind of creepy. And then
and also like Simon Pegg acting was really good in this because he looked really scared. You could almost feel like he was going to cry in that moment.
He was like right at the edge of and because he's usually like a very comedic actor, but you can see like he can do more, and then that.
But then that's when the plot twist comes in, and then Ethan says, "You thought that I brought you the drive? No, I am the drive."
He memorized
and
everything.
then he memorized everything. I'm like, okay.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. It's an interesting way of doing it. So obviously he can't kill him.
Yeah.
And I like how the way they trap Solomon.
Yeah.
It's almost like the first scene in the movie.
Yes.
But it's done to him now. And he says, you wanted the IMF, here we are.
Here we are, and then like the lights go on and everyone is like standing
Yeah, and then his kind of thing, his cage fills with smoke, and then he comes through the smoke. I was like, wow, okay, it's kind of.
It almost reminded me of like was it Spectre or was it Skyfall? Then
you know, I was actually when I rewatched this, I realized that this is basically the same movie as Spectre.
Yes,
this came out like a year before Spectre. And it's essentially the same story. You have a rogue kind of agency
called Syndicate, which
they are causing terrorist attacks all over the world. And the main character Ethan Hunt, James Bond, is trying to stop them.
So Ethan, I
it's
think
pretty much the same story. But Rogue Nation is a much better movie.
Like it's like the same plot, but it's like totally two different films. Like,
it's so good. Like the action is so intense. And I mean, I was pretty bored by Spectre actually. It was not as cool as it should have been. And even though they have Christoph Waltz in that movie, I thought Sean Harris as the villain in Rogue Nation was so good. Like he's this really creepy, intense guy. And I like that they didn't kill him.
They didn't kill him.
So he comes back in the next one.
Which was almost similar to like Inspector and Skyfall, right?
Is it?
Yeah, because like they don't really kill the villain. Like he's basically like he
does come back in the last James Bond movie. but that was kind of still disappointing. Whereas Sean Harris has a major role. I think, and this one ends with Alec Baldwin's character becoming the new secretary,
and then
he joins the team. That's pretty cool.
And then who says welcome to the IMF?
Jeremy Renner's character. He says
welcome to the IMF, because in the beginning of the film, Alec Baldwin says welcome to the CIA, and
because he takes them over, right? And now he wants and I like how they have to tell the Senate committee that
this was all
because he wanted to kind of
save face.
Because in the beginning the CIA wants to completely get rid of the IMF because he doesn't believe in their methods. He thinks that they're too chaotic.
There's no law.
They're kind of going off and doing these crazy things. There's no accountability.
But I felt in the last scene he was trying to save his face. Because he has to explain, right? Why does he believe in it?
But I think in the movie you kind of feel like he respects what the IMF do.
Because after everything that has happened, I think
he realizes that the CIA, because the CIA could
and then Renner's character is like, I cannot disclose any information without the secretary of the IMF. Again, the same thing he says.
And then this guy becomes the secretary.
But then this time it was like Alec Baldwin kind of gives that small little smirk. He's like, I saw what you did.
Because they ask him whether that's true.
And then he's like, I cannot disclose it without the secretary. So. I love that line.
Because he repeats it like multiple times.
Oh my
God. Rogue One is such a. I think Rogue One is one of my favorites in the series. And it's also like a huge step up. From everything else, I thought. And let's get to Fallout, man. Fallout. Wow. Fallout, I think, is my favorite.
That was pretty. I think they took all the best things from the previous films and like jammed it into one film.
And then they fully know now. Okay, people are coming to see Ethan Hunt's, Tom Cruise's stunt. So that's
an action scene.
So. Even when he has an injury, it's part of the marketing. When he breaks his leg, it's part of the marketing.
I think he had I think after he got injured, he had only 6 weeks more to
they had to pause for a while until he got better.
He had only 6 weeks more to finish filming.
And
then he had to go through this whole quite intense.
So you have now Henry Cavill in the movie. I like how. Again in this one the CIA again is there,
and also so Henry Cavill in this film has his mustache. It's not like deep fake nothing. Like he has his mustache, which he filmed with. I mean, even in Justice League,
he grew a real mustache. And he was contractually obligated to keep it.
For
the duration of filming.
So
he couldn't shave it for Justice League. I know that ruined Justice League in a way, but I no longer have any issues with that because Fallout, his mustache looks so good.
Yeah.
Actually, the director was okay with him shaving.
Yeah.
He was fine, but the studio was like, no, hell no.
Because if you remember, there were rumors between Paramount and Warner Brothers about Henry Cavill's mustache. There was a back and forth going.
Yeah, because Paramount didn't want to do it. Paramount was like, no, you're on contract. You have to. They were being
because Warner Brothers was like begging Paramount to like shave Henry Cavill.
because the thing is, it's easier to have a fake mustache. Than to remove a mustache.
Yeah, exactly.
So I feel like Paramount were being kind of mean. They could have could have had him shaved, and because you have really good makeup people, they could have made it look real.
Yeah.
It's way more difficult to remove a
now
mustache.
you have all this scanning technology and all that could
it's easier to put a mustache than to remove one with CGI. So they were I think they were being a-holes right there. but I mean, it was a contract, so they could do it. So, but anyway, he's there, and there's a cool scene where you have Alec Baldwin. Now Alec Baldwin's character fully trusts Ethan.
Yeah,
he says, I like that. He says, you think that other people will think that it's a weakness, that you will always save the one person more than the many, but I think that's one of your greatest strengths, he says, because I can always count on you to save my ass.
Yes.
And he says that he considers Ethan a friend. So I thought that's like their friendship has grown. And then you have Erica, I forgot the actress's name.
Angela Bassett.
She's so good. And I like how the CIA.
She's the new CIA.
She's the CIA head. And I like how the CIA is still after the IMF. They still don't trust them, even when Alec Baldwin has.
It's kind of like a very toxic workplace in the CIA.
And then she brings in Henry Cavill's character Walker. To kind of watch over the whole thing. And I like how she says, you like to use a scalpel, and it cuts to Ethan. But I prefer a hammer, and it cuts to Henry Cavill's character, and I like how it really shows.
You know, that scene kind of reminded me of The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Right.
With Armie Hammer. It kind of felt very similar to that.
Sort of, right? Because that also has multiple agencies working together. Yeah, so you have like
the bathroom scene was amazing.
Oh yeah, they go after this guy, and
Henry Cavill like reloads his arms. He does this whole movement, and then he starts like punching.
And you have that random guy in the bathroom who totally kicks both of their asses. I mean, you have the two leads of the movie, Tom Cruise and Henry Cavill, and this random guy kicks their ass. It's so good, that scene. And again, there's a lot going on in this movie because I like how you have the remnants of the syndicate.
Yes.
Who are still there.
They formed a new agency.
The Apostles. And there's this shadowy guy called
James Lark or something?
John Lark.
John Lark.
You don't know who it is. So that character is there. And then the MI6 people are there because they still want Solomon Lane.
Yeah, because now I think there are these
They're trying to cover it up, right?
Yeah, there are these 3 plutonium ions that could be used to destroy the world and all of that.
And so there's a lot going on. And I like how it's very vague sometimes because you have people coming after them, but you don't really know who they are. They're very shadowy figures. Like it could be MI6, it could be CIA, it could be Apostles, could be
I think people. That's why it plays a mysterious kind of element in this film.
Because you only see it from Ethan's point of view. He doesn't know who these people are. So that's really cool. Like in that scene where this is after Cavill's character is shown to be the bad guy.
Where they go to Kashmir, right?
Even before that, like when the CIA, Erica's team comes in, and there are all these people who are chasing, but you don't know who the hell they are, right? It's so cool. Like I like how that's played out, and and then you have the interesting thing happens where they go into the nightclub and they meet
the White
Queen. White Widow?
White Widow or
Forgot her
something,
name.
right? Yeah. She's
but
apparently like Max's daughter.
yeah,
right?
she is. And actually the actress is the daughter
Yeah.
as well. So the actress is the daughter
Yeah.
of the one who played Max.
Oh, okay.
So the actresses are related as well.
Oh, wow.
That's why she has the same voice.
Yeah, that's what. Wait a minute, this sounds so familiar. And then
Yeah.
I like checked up and it's like, oh yeah.
And she's also hitting on Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Max was hitting on Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, yeah.
Yeah, this one. And there's some really cool scenes like the Paris sequence.
Yeah.
You know, like, so there's a scene where they want to break Solomon Lane out. And you see this sequence where Ethan and all these people are attacking the convoy and they're killing people.
Yeah.
And then Ethan says, no, you can't. He doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And that really shows like the character of Ethan. He doesn't want any...
And there's like an actual scene where Solomon is like in the convoy and like, I mean...
It falls into the water.
And then like he takes like deep breaths before that because
That scene where you can see the wall of water coming towards him.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that looks so cool.
Like I think they made the villain in... I mean, he's not really a villain. But...
I mean, the main villain is Cavill's character.
Yeah, Cavill's character, yeah.
But I like how Lane is also there playing a major role.
Yeah.
And I like how he really wants to hurt Ethan in this one.
Yeah.
And Ethan is sort of haunted by him. You see him appearing in his dreams. I like, wow, this guy is so... And he's so intense, right?
Yeah.
That actor.
Yeah.
And I like that scene where...
And now he has a beard.
Yeah.
He kind of no more glasses.
Yeah.
So.
And when they catch him, he has this thing where he says, oh, the end you feared is coming. And he says, you know, the fallout of all your good intentions. I thought, that's a pretty badass line right there. Some good writing, Christopher McQuarrie. So he's there, and I like how he messes with Benji. He says, what does he say? He says, there's some unfinished business, my old friend. And because he tried to kill Benji in the last one, and he tries to kill him again in this one. It's getting personal between them two, right? And Elsa is back, Rebecca Ferguson. And I like how she's at odds with Ethan there. Because she's sent to kill Solomon.
Yeah, but then obviously Ethan
needs Solomon.
Solomon.
And there's some amazing scenes like where Ethan is on the bike in Paris.
Yeah.
And then later he's in the car with Solomon. And I thought that was really funny. Where Solomon says, oh, it's good to see you, Ethan. And then Ethan has this look, he looks really annoyed.
Screw you, I'm here for business, you know, I'm not here to catch up with you.
I like the looks they give each other in the car. and Ethan has to protect him.
Yeah.
And he knows Ethan is not going to let him die.
And then I think once they save Solomon, then they go to Kashmir to get the last, I think, some codes. The detonator, right?
Yeah, because the nuclear weapons have been delivered and they have to kind of stop them. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
But I think, it's the kind of movie that
it kind of goes through your head.
Yeah, I think the first couple of times I found it very difficult to follow.
Because I'll be very honest, right, to whoever is listening.
Yeah.
Like after watching all these films, you have to go to Wikipedia to understand what's going on. The plot.
I think the first couple of times I didn't know what was going on.
Because I thought at certain times, like, it almost felt like the villains were kind of the same. Oh, it has to be an IMF thing. But then it was, and then when you read back on Wikipedia, it's like, oh no, it's like totally different villains. You know, you have like different types. So
and there's a nice scene where they trick Henry Cavill, Walker's character, into revealing that he's the bad guy.
But then
where Benji gets to wear a mask.
Yes.
For the second time in this, because there's an earlier scene in the hospital. Or where they pretend it's a hospital.
Yes, they do. And then
I thought that was interesting because they make it look like the bomb exploded.
And you know, they actually hired that news
the guy on CNN, right?
CNN, they actually brought him for a small scene,
And it's the first time Benji gets to wear a mask.
Again.
And then he does it again.
And you know, they actually did the same thing they did in the second movie with the fake hospital scene.
They actually do it a lot, right? Because in the first movie
also
when the movie opens with a scene where they are trying to get some information. So they have like a set, like a movie set kind of a thing. and they pretend, So that's really interesting to have that come back.
Yeah. And also another thing I felt like they got from the second film was the rock climbing scene.
Like, there's a bit of rock climbing in this one.
So towards the end, there's this helicopter scene where they kind of chase.
Tom Cruise is climbing up a helicopter. Wow.
No, I think he jumps from one helicopter to another, right?
No. He crashes one helicopter into the other one. I like how Walker's character realizes how crazy this guy is. This guy is trying to crash into us. And obviously that's not real. But
and then we see Ethan's now ex-wife.
I like how they brought her in.
And she plays a small role.
I like how that storyline has been continued.
Because usually, like in franchises like this, when let's say when the third film wants to like end the entire thing, and let's say when they come up with the fourth film, they kind of like dismiss whatever happened in the third one and like pretend nothing happened, and then they just
this
like
is still continuing. They're not retconning anything.
Exactly. I'm happy they didn't like put it on the rug and like call it a day. So,
and they're sort of using it to kind of
add more
develop
character,
his character.
Add more character
because they really explain why they split up. Because they say that Ethan would wonder when he's with her what would happen in the world, right? Bombs are going off. He would feel guilty. And
also like he doesn't really have time to pay attention to her, and like all of this stuff.
And
something happens in the IMF. So
and I like how she says that it changed her as well. She's now more like she goes out more like because she's there to help people, right? And even like the husband guy, Wes Bentley's character is there. So weird, he's just a regular husband because he's usually some villain or something.
Exactly, because he looked very familiar.
So he says that he used to only be at the hospital, but like he's more adventurous now. So like I like how that is set up and I thought like that was cool, like when they reveal that. Walker's character reveals that they have her, like they can kill her at any time. Like that raises the stakes.
Because like
he puts that photo down.
Right? Ethan Hunt's character, Ethan Hunt's wife is in Kashmir doing some charity thing, and they place the bombs in that.
So it's his whole elaborate.
Like, there's a lot
plan.
of like stake going on. So
and I like how Walker is annoyed at Solomon Lane because Lane wants revenge in a way. Where Walker is all about the cause, and it's a pretty intense movie as well. But I would say not as intense as the third one. But the action is on a whole other level. I mean, Tom Cruise is climbing up this helicopter. He's piloting a helicopter,
and he's on the edge of the cliff.
And the edge of the cliff,
and then like the whole
he has
to detonate fight before the whole thing explodes,
and there's like two bombs.
Two
and
bombs,
you have
and
like
there's a detonator.
They have to stop Lane as well, and Lane is fighting Benji and Ilsa, and Benji is on this rope. And you're like, and I actually thought I thought he might die. The first time I was watching, I thought he might die.
Yeah, because I remember. So while
so we're talking about the final scene where they have to stop Lane, right? And then you have Benji on the ropes, which is pretty intense. I actually thought he might die. And then you were saying that they had plans to kill him, right?
Yeah, they were having plans to kill one of the supporting characters off, but also at the same time, if you noticed in Fallout, Jeremy Renner's character wasn't there because he was filming the Avengers movies, Infinity War and Endgame. So they were also trying to put in a scene where they would kill Renner's character off, but then I think at that time the cast and crew didn't feel it right.
Maybe they think they can bring him back in a future movie. So
maybe they might bring it for the Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Or Part 2. Maybe.
But overall, if we had a ranking, because last week we were doing with Indiana
Jones,
what would be your ranking? Which would be number 1, number 2?
So I would say number 1 and 2 are probably very close with Fallout and Rogue Nation. I think they are the two
top
best ones.
Yeah,
They are like
I agree.
they are perfect. They are perfect. Like I
Yeah.
can't complain about anything
Yeah.
in these two movies.
Mhm.
They're so good. And number 3 would probably be MI3 maybe.
Okay.
Because I love Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I love how intense that movie is. It's just on a whole other level, right?
Yeah.
But I would say it's still pretty close with Ghost Protocol.
Yeah.
So I would say that's 4.
Okay.
But it's so hard, man. Because
So
the lowest one is MI2.
So your top 2 is like first is maybe Ghost Protocol and the other
No.
is
First one would be Fallout.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Fallout and
Rogue Nation.
Yeah.
And then probably MI3.
Yeah.
Maybe-
My third one. So I
Yeah.
agree with you with
Yeah.
the first 2.
So okay. So the
Yeah.
lowest one would be MI2, right?
Yeah.
It's the weakest one.
Yeah.
But then the next couple of movies, right? The first Mission Impossible,
Yeah.
Mission Impossible 3,
3.
Ghost Protocol. It's very
Yeah.
close for
Close
me. I
for-
can
yeah.
never tell which
Yeah.
one I like more.
Yeah.
But
then
yeah.
I'll tell you something. I like Ghost Protocol more than MI3 because
Okay.
I felt fourth one was a bit more funny and
it's
much more
fun. It's way more fun.
than the third one. Third one was intense and there's a lot of action going on. So it's like it's very hard to process.
Yeah, it's I think everything is much more clearer in Ghost Protocol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I think number 3 for me would be Ghost Protocol.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your ranking then?
So like you said,
Fallout.
Fallout and then
Rogue Nation.
and then third one would be Ghost Protocol.
All right. And
Fourth one maybe MI3,
Okay.
and then one before the last would be first movie.
Right.
But then I feel like I need to put the first movie in the top 3.
Because the
or
first
4.
movie is so good.
Yeah, because that's the foundation.
Yeah,
If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have these movies in some way.
And also like, I mean, I've always liked that movie, but I like it more now because I've watched De Palma's other movies.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to like his style. So I appreciate it more. I appreciate the angles, the camera, the
and
close-ups.
also, like I was saying, it was more of a noir film than an action film.
Yeah.
Maybe I felt MI3 was like the sequel to the first movie.
Could be, yeah.
Because I would say the aesthetic or maybe the vibe kind of continued.
Because it's a lot more realistic as well.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of fancy
Because
gadgets.
if MI2 didn't happen, I feel the next thing would be MI1 and MI3, and then they would MI2 was that one variation that went fully haywire.
it's the black sheep of the whole thing.
But the thing is, like whether we hate it, it's like the most memorable one.
It's so entertaining.
So entertaining, and everyone remembers it.
Yeah.
You know?
And like you said, like it's the most 2000s movie.
I mean, it's it happens in Australia, and everyone is using flip phones, and everyone is wearing goofy sunglasses and
black jackets,
and
slow motion. Yeah.
And also in the 2000s, like almost every action movie was about a virus.
Yeah, there was a time. Yeah. There was a time.
Because when I was watching this,
right,
it kind of reminded me of. So there's this Jackie Chan movie called Tuxedo.
Right. Oh yeah.
It had almost a similar feeling because it's also to do with the virus.
Right.
And they also go to, and the villain is also Australian. So
okay. Huh. Interesting.
I recently rewatched it, so just to let the audience, just a little FYI for the audience, if you like to, maybe watch some goofy movie to have fun, you can also check that out.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of other spy franchises as well. Like a lot of comedy ones. You have like Johnny English, you have Austin Powers, and you have all this other stuff that has come out over the years. Yeah. But I mean, Mission Impossible, has to be one of the better franchises, and definitely one of the most consistently entertaining ones. Yeah. Because the Bond movies vary in quality a lot. Yeah. Right.
But also it's very I would say it's very familiar with MI in many ways. So like, because in Mission Impossible you have like the Bond girls. You get what I'm saying? They use different upcoming, like people.
You mean
women,
James Bond?
No, I'm saying in MI.
Yeah.
The women are like all these upcoming,
like, but the difference is Ethan Hunt is not hitting on all of them.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's very platonic.
And it's not like that,
And also like in James Bond, he has his gadgets.
Yeah.
And then he sort of has a team? Because in James Bond you have.
I think Daniel Craig's James Bond movies started taking inspiration from Jason Bond, the Bond trilogy, and maybe a bit of Mission Impossible.
Yeah, they should have
because in the last couple of James Bond movies, you saw the team coming in and playing more of a role.
And also there were stunts also.
And like Casino Royale and Quantum were more like Born Identity kind of action. So I think even the James Bond movies, which inspired all of this other stuff, started taking inspiration.
So it's like kind of like a full cycle that's going on.
Yeah. But I think I love Mission Impossible more than James Bond. At
this point, but again, it's I'm not saying the Bond films are like bad or anything, but
there are some really good ones.
Good ones,
But I'd say Mission Impossible is more consistent in the quality.
Quality,
and obviously
but interestingly, like the similarity also is that in James Bond and these films, they are like all these different directors and writers always come in. But the
in James Bond, the directors don't leave their mark.
Yeah, exactly.
You never watch a James Bond movie. It's very rare you see the style of the director because they usually come in and do the thing and they go.
Yeah.
They don't leave their mark. But if you watch the first Mission Impossible, that's clearly De Palma. The second one, John Woo, and the third one is clearly JJ. And okay, maybe I can't really tell Brad Bird's style that much. It's not noticeable.
Yeah.
And even McQuarrie's style, I don't really see his style yet.
He's not established. I don't know if I watch enough of
that's the thing.
Films.
I haven't watched enough of Brad Bird and McQuarrie to tell their style.
Yeah.
But I've watched a lot of JJ. Watched a lot of John Woo and De Palma. So I know their style. It's very noticeable. And it's interesting that each one has its style which you never get in the James Bond movies.
And also Tom Cruise is also behind of choosing the directors because
he is the filmmaker
and the producer of this film. Yeah.
He is a filmmaker, so he has a big say in what's going on.
I think I could bring in the point that his so the Mission Impossible films, which were produced by Bad Robot,
the JJ's
are
company.
much more better than the Cruise Wagner Productions one.
Right. So the Bad Robot came in with JJ's thing, right?
Yeah. And then it kind of continued.
So is Wagner still not a part of it? I don't think they're still part of it.
Because I think the first one and second one was Wagner. Because you see Tom Wagner Productions and then all of a sudden in the third one I was like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, JJ brought his production company. I mean, I don't know if that... No, I think it's because Tom Cruise is getting more and more power.
Yeah.
He has more say. So he is very careful about what they do. So maybe that's why he obviously trusts Chris McQuarrie. That's why he's the only director who's done multiple movies.
Yeah.
Because the first 4 movies, each a separate director, right? But McQuarrie comes in, he's now doing all the movies.
Yeah.
And he's also Tom Cruise's writer, right? He did some writing for Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
He did some writing for Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
He fixed Ghost Protocol.
Yeah.
Which kept the character as it is.
And it was entertaining as well.
Yeah. So he actually... And he also did that other movie where Tom Cruise is like a detective, like a military detective. I forgot the name of that movie. He directed that one.
Oh, okay.
So he
was it... It's not Minority Report.
No. It's a movie where Tom Cruise is like...
Jack Reacher?
Jack Reacher, yes.
Okay,
yes, Jack Reacher.
Okay,
he's investigating.
I was like military and then...
He's like a detective, right? In that, so that was directed by... The first one was directed by McQuarrie. So that's why I think Tom Cruise trusts this guy. So he brings him on to every project. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's why he's doing Dead Reckoning Part 1 and 2.
Again, to all our listeners, we haven't still watched the new films yet.
Hoping to watch it soon.
and hopefully we'll do a review of it. But
there's a lot of stuff coming out.
Yeah. But I think after this month, I don't think there's much to... I
mean, the big summer movie will be over. So hopefully it'll be a bit of a relief. So you don't have to go to the movie theatre. as much as we have been
Yeah.
all the time. I mean, not that we don't mind. Obviously, we love going to there, but
So I think that's pretty much it. No, I mean
we'll be back with a review once we watched it. We are very excited,
and also after next week, because Nuwan will be.
I'll be going on a little trip, so I won't be there.
But once he's back, he's gone on his mission, and once he's back, we will be doing a review on Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Yeah. And hopefully Mission Impossible as well.
Too, yeah.
So it might be a very long video. Let's see.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening in.
This has been our longest episode.
Yeah, longest episode,
so far.
and please don't forget to subscribe because we have, as we said, upcoming episodes.
Yeah.
And hope we'll talk soon then.
Yeah.
See you.
See you guys. Bye bye.
Bye bye.